Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Bill Hitchcock. It is October 16th, Thursday, and I have got a tremendous amount of stuff to get out to you. Not only are we going to talk about all of the drum that are being caught up and down the coast of North Carolina still, speckled trout have started to show up and have concentrated in a particular area right now. Spots, they have shown up and a lot more. We got videos to get out to you. Of course, we got pictures, fishing report information, have extremely important weather information to get out to you. We all know for the past month plus, we had just been whacked by all sorts of strong winds. The Outer Banks particularly has suffered through it, but we've got some very important, and I'll call it unusual weather information to get out to you. Also, got some news, some marine fisheries news to get out to you, but something else. I got a viewer wrote in, a recreational fisherman, he wrote in about a recreational fisherman getting commercial fishing licenses and going flounder fishing and not reporting the flounder and catching all they want. We're going to get into that and a new state law that's coming up in December. First, weather. I want to jump into this real quick. Another viewer email before we get into the weather. We're going to show you what the winds are doing now and what they're going to be doing or projected to be doing this weekend. A viewer writes in and says, "Love your show. My name is Robert and I'm out of Martinsville, Virginia, and plan on trying to make a run down there. I listened to your show and how satfish sounds very accurate. It is. However, I'm an Appalachian freshwater angler and the tide and the wind is a bit to comprehend." And thank you for saying so. And it's a bit for us to comprehend who have lived down here forever. He says, "I'm coming to fish. However, if it's a tropical storm or a hurricane, I will put it off until November." First, thanks, Bill, your friend, Robert. Robert, what I'm going to do is we're going to jump right on into the Satfish report, which is going into talk about wind, and I think you're going to like what you're about to see. All right, let's go on and take a look at what the wind is and what the wind forecast is going to be. And of course, this is brought to us by Satfish, the satellite fishing technology folks, and we do appreciate this. Now, this is Thursday morning when I'm doing this around 7 o'clock in the morning. You can see up here in the Outer Banks area, they've got about 20 knot winds. They don't need that. Down here in the Bogue Banks area, it's half that, about 9-10 knots. And down here in the Cape Fear area, it's even less than half of that. Again, that's Thursday morning when I'm doing this. By the way, up here in the top left corner, you will see wind speed and wind directions displayed. Let's go into tomorrow. What happens tomorrow? Oh boy, there we go again. We got winds 20-25 knots in the Outer Banks out of the north-northwest. Down here, the Bogue Banks area, about 15 knots. Down here in the Cape Fear area, around 10 knots. That's Friday. Let's go on into Saturday. What happens? And look at that. The winds calm down. They're coming out of the north-northwest up here in the northern Outer Banks. They're looking like it's 6-7 knots. Yay for that. Same thing down here, Ocracoke, Raleigh Bay. Down here in the Crystal Coast area, 1-2 knots. Cape Fear, 1-2 knots. That's Saturday. Sunday, what happens? Well, the wind shifts. Instead of a northerly wind, it's a southerly wind. And they're at 10 knots here at the Outer Banks, here in Raleigh Bay, 10 knots here in front of the Carteret County, Bogue Banks, Cape Lookout areas, 10 knots. Down here, Cape Fear, a little bit less. But look what happens as we go on into Monday. Uh-oh. The wind picks back up here in the Outer Banks, although it's still a southerly wind. We've been dominated by a northerly wind for weeks now. This is a southerly wind, 20-25 knots. Down here, Raleigh Bay, same thing. Down here in the Bogue Banks area, same thing. Down here in the Cape Fear area, same thing. But as we go on into Monday afternoon, you see the wind shifts. Look at this offshore. They have a system that moves offshore, and here out of the Outer Banks, 15 knots. Raleigh Bay, same thing. Down here in the Onslow Bay, same thing. Cape Fear, as usual, a little bit calmer. So it looks like this weekend is going to be a great day for fishing wind-wise, but come Monday, take a look out. We'd like to thank Satfish, the satellite fishing technology people, for supplying this information. Go to their website, satfish.com, and see all the great stuff they have to offer. So the Satfish satellite fishing technology folks say that it's going to be a little bit breezy Friday, but this weekend's going to be great. And this Monday, though, it's going to not be so great. Let me expand upon that. Let me show you a broad view of the low pressure system and the high pressure system that's about to happen. Here I'm showing you it goes from Monday. You can see that the little bit of schmiggly that's happening. The weekend is great. Monday you see that purpley stuff showing back up, and then all of a sudden you don't see any of those colors. You just see the big high pressure system, and you see those wind bars. Now, by the way, one other thing I want to make mention about, in the last show I talked about wind bars, what they meant, and one thing I didn't point out to you is you got that long part and the little parts, and the little parts is 10 knots worth of wind. A half of a little part is 5 knots of wind, but wherever they're pointing this way, this way, this way, that's the direction the wind is coming out of. Now the fishing report, that's what you want to hear about. Nags Head Pier. This is from yesterday, Wednesday. It said, due to the wind and weather, the pier will be closing today. We will reopen tomorrow at 5 a.m. Sorry for the inconvenience. The only reason why I read that is because I wanted to see the picture. So more people having fun with the status that situations that we've had to deal with. Now, to let you get a better grasp of what it's been like for these guys up in the Outer Banks that have been catching these drum consistently during all of this crappy weather, take a look at this. This video is from Jeanette's Pier this past Tuesday. They say north winds at 37 miles an hour with gusts up to 45 miles an hour. Now that doesn't look so pretty, does it? But that same day, look at this picture. It says still windy. Only 3 large red drum to report, nothing else. It tickles me. I mean, that is so indicative of the crowd up there in the Outer Banks, Hatteras, up there in the Nags Head, Kitty Hawk area. It is blowing 40-something miles an hour, and they're, oh, we only got 3 big red drum today. So just be careful, just be safe. Always. Salty Waters OBX, he's been fishing on the backside of Nags Head area. He says, Tuesday, slot drum and little ones in this mess of weather for Gabe and son Lucas. Happy to be back to the dock after the wind really started cranking up. And thanks for going, fellas. Oregon Inlet Fishing Center says, if you are willing, they are waiting. Whew. These folks braved it and came home with some nice looking drum and bluefish. And again, I want to stress, as I have been in these shows, that these guys heading out in the weather this isn't their first time doing it. It's probably not their first decade or decades. They've been doing it for a while, and they'll come in. They won't go out if it's bad. Please don't go out if you've never been out in any type of adverse situation. We want to keep you safe and happy and alive to fish another day. Now, Hatteras Island, my favorite, Rodanthe Pier Dry Erase Board Fishing Report. Look at that. It says, this is from yesterday, black sea bass, drum, 44 inches, 26 inches, 45 inches, and here we go, speckled trout. Water temperature around 68 degrees, and that's been consistent up there. Speckled trout. We've been hearing about speckled trout in the back Soundside area for quite a while, but now we're hearing them oceanside, so I want to kind of notate that. Avon Pier says, Caleb from Virginia with a 25-inch puppy drum. Robert from Tennessee just landed a big one. And Amanda Balthasar with a 44-inch drum caught tonight. That was 2 nights ago. Way to go. Hookup charters. I don't know if the wind will ever stop blowing, but at least the fish are still biting. Drum and bluefish fishing has been great the last few days. By the way, drum are basically bottom feeders. You look at their mouth, and when it gets all the wind and waves and everything's kicking it all up, it kicks up the stuff off the bottom and they start feeding. I told a story once about 6 months ago, went out with Norman Miller out of Ocracoke in the 80s, and all I can tell you about drum fishing with Norman was, number one, is at night, and number two, he found the crappiest place to anchor up in, and that's where we drum fished, and that was my first real lesson in drum fishing. All right, Frank and Franz in Avon, North Carolina. They say, we got reports of puppy drum on the surf in Buxton and on the pier here in Avon, and of black drum off the surf. There's also been some sea mullets scattered around. Soundside has been quiet today, and notice the Portuguese man of war. I'm going to say something that's going to get me in trouble. If the Portuguese man of war are out and about, this time of year, guys are now starting to wear waders. So the situation might not be as adverse as if someone like me is always in his short pants and skivvies or whatever out there. Skivvies? That'd be interesting fishing out there with skin exposed. I'll shut up now. Just be careful while you're fishing. Spectacular Hatteras light tackle fishing. Said Tommy McKinney brought his son Matt and grandsons Graham and Connor and William fishing for the second year in a row, and boys had fun catching some bluefish. And I believe this is either later on that day, Jessica Sussman and her dad Jeff fished with me every year and always seemed to have a good day of fishing. Not bad for a 4-hour day trip. Bluefish and drum, you better believe it. Ocracoke. By the way, during this past week, Highway 12 on Ocracoke and Hatteras has been closed due to the overwash, and they come down and bulldoze the sand out and all that. They've opened it up, and there's been times when they've opened up Highway 12 and within a matter of hours it's closed. Certain areas it's closed again because of the overwash. So some of these fishing reports are kind of sketchy. Like in trade winds, we really haven't been able to get too many reports simply because it's not that the fish aren't there, it's the people aren't there. That's the fishing report, quote unquote, problem. But Trade Winds Bait and Tackle says Kevin Chapman landed a fantastic citation red drum fishing the beach off of Ocracoke Island yesterday afternoon. Now in the central coastal area. Atlantic Beach to be more specific, chasing tails right there in the Atlantic Beach Causeway, second business on the right as you cross over the high-rise bridge. Good fishing today for Captain Hunter Bolton and Captain Will Gillikin's boat crew, catching speckled trout, gray trout, bluefish, and red drum. Floating live shrimp under a Betts tackle float was the key to success. And the day before that, speckled trout, bluefish, and drum, reds, as they say today. So they're starting to turn on. That's inside fishing. The trout are starting to turn on, and that's, from this day forward, it's going to be. That is disturbing. I'm never going to do that again. It's nothing like seeing yourself, Anyway, Bougainville Pier. The end is near. No, the end of the pier is busy with red drum fishermen today. Congratulations to Tanya Johnson from Elgin, South Carolina, 7-pound, 9-ounce, 27-inch puppy drum. Trenton Keaton from Newbern with a 5-pound, 7-ounce bluefish. Cleve Price from Goldsboro with a 4-pound, 15-ounce bluefish. And the list goes on and on and on, including Spanish mackerel, croakers, and spots. And Bougainville Pier was talking about, they didn't get any pictures, I guess because they don't bring them in, of course, but big drum. Lots of big drum are still at the Bougainville Pier. Water temperature there is 72 degrees. Now in the southern area, go from Bougainville south, Surf City Pier, Spanish mackerel, pompano, sea mullet, and bluefish. The Johnny Mercer Pier, they got Takuto with a 28-inch red drum that was released right after the photo. And it says, reminder, this is the Johnny Mercer Pier, reminder to Spanish mackerel tournament this weekend at the Johnny Mercer Pier. Now, Jolly Roger Pier says, evidently, big drum all this past week. That's all I can tell you. There's just so many pictures, and it seems like from every day, at least one picture of a big drum. So the Jolly Roger Pier was the place to be. But if you like spots, the place to be, or was yesterday, was Sunset Beach Pier. Take a look at this video.
Pulling them in. Pulling them in. Pulling them in. Look at it. Ooh, what a big one. Look at that. Pulling them in. I ain't got a lot of nobody. Even Sea Breeze down here pulling them in. She just pulled her one in. Uh-oh. I'm about to get back to my pole. Look at that. There. Y'all think I'm playing? They're pulling them up down here. Hold on, somebody got something coming on. Look at it, look at it. Sling that spot, slinging a big one at that. And our other pole going off. Look at it, look all the way down there. Doubles coming up. Y'all think I'm be playing till we ain't get to the spots down here. Oh, your pole going off here. Get your pole, your white pole. Yeah, it's going off. Look at it. Oh, it's on there. Come on. Look at it. Bringing them in. Somebody bring it in, I'm gonna put it up. Cause you must got two, cause it's running. It's a big one. Bring him up, suck your head. Slinging them out there. They catching them, y'all. Oh, my pole going off. I got to go.
Mamie Betty Bowen shot that video at the Sunset Beach Fishing Pier, and they're catching them spots. So congratulations. A viewer, Jonathan Frady, he says, I sent this in. He says, my church went on a men's fishing trip to Fort Caswell. Both of the red drum were slots measuring 24-inch and the other 25 inches. We caught several blues, croaker spots, pinfish. He says, drum number 1 caught with a live mullet on a sea rig. It's a homemade rig. And let's see, drum number 2 was caught with a homemade high-low rig. That's like a 2-hook bottom rig with orange floats and number 2 circle hooks. Thank you for using circle hooks and using cut mullet. By the way, circle hooks are designed that if the hook gets swallowed into the fishy gut, it won't hook anything until it comes to the mouth, and it's because it's in a semicircle or a half a circle or 3/4 of a circle, and it hooks the fish in the mouth. Blues, he said, we caught 6 in all. One was caught with a 3/4 ounce gold spoon, all the others with homemade high-low rigs with float. I like that. And circle hooks. I like that. Thank you, Jonathan, that you're making your rigs and you're using circle hooks. Now, a little bit of news. Got an email from a gentleman. He said that the title of the email he sent to me was Resident Fisherman Leasing a Commercial Fishing License. Bill, I learned something last week about the subject above. It seemed to be legal and easy to lease a commercial fishing license for flounder by just drawing an agreement between the two parties, and then a recreational fisherman can become a commercial fisherman and proceed to go gigging for flounder, catching as many fish as they like during the commercial flounder season and not report their catch. Keep all the catch for personal use and stand back and laugh at the rest of the recreational fishermen while they fill their freezers and damage the fisheries resource. I challenge you, it's never a good thing to say to me, but anyway, I challenge you to speak about this harmful and terrible sidestepping loophole that some less than sportsmanlike fishermen are using. That is one of the main reasons North Carolina coastal fishing for flounder is in the terrible shape that it is in. Sincerely, Tim Smith, Ocean Isle Beach. Well, I said, yeah, Tim Smith. All right. Well, I contacted the Division of Marine Fisheries, North Carolina Division of Marine Fisheries. It'd be silly if I contacted the South Carolina. Anyway, and it took a while to get the proper response, and I got a great response from Brandy Salmon, and she says, leasing a commercial fishing license is actually what the law calls an assignment. The state law allows any commercial fisherman who owns a valid standard commercial fishing license to assign their respective license to another person. Currently, there are no requirements that force a commercial fisherman to sell their harvest, so they are legally allowed to keep fish for personal consumption, and personal consumption is not required to be reported on trip tickets. But the North Carolina General Assembly passed Session Law 2023-137, which established new mandatory harvest reporting requirements starting December 1st of this year. This law requires all commercial harvest to be reported, whether the harvest is sold or kept for personal consumption. So you can't do that. And I'm going to talk about, this is a new state law. This pertains to all of us. If recreational fishermen, commercial fishermen, the new state law starting December 1st, a month and a half away, will require any person who recreationally harvests red drum, flounder, speckled trout, striped bass, and gray trout to report that harvest to the Division of Marine Fishery. This applies to coastal fishing waters, joint fishing waters, and inland fishing waters, i.e. all waters adjacent to the coastal joint fishing waters. Additionally, it requires anyone holding a commercial fishing license who is engaged in a commercial fishing operation to report all fish harvested to the division, regardless of sale, i.e. if you're a commercial fisherman and you're going out recreational fishing, you still have to report because you're a recreational fisherman. All of these laws that I just, changes that I just read out to you, is starting this December first. And I can't stress that enough. I did a show about this about a year ago, but let's start reminding folks. So that answers the question there. By the way, email me, billhitchcock@mail.com, billhitchcock@mail.com. If you got questions, I'll go find the answer for you. Please don't, I challenge you. Bad move. But email me at billhitchcock@mail.com. Don't go to TikTok. Don't go to Facebook. Don't use any other email address you might find in me because it's going to get lost in the wash. If you want my attention, billhitchcock@mail.com. All right, that's all the time I have for you right now. It looks like this weekend's going to be great. Until next time, see ya.